Hi there, this is Good Morning Transfers. Coming up on today's show, Jordan Henderson is officially an Ajax player. We will hear from their new midfielder. Chelsea want £50 million for Armando Broja, but who will be prepared to pay that price? Two Spanish clubs express an interest in Calvin Phillips, but with less than 2 weeks to go now in the window, could we see him staying put at Manchester City? And Liverpool could be hit with a major injury worry to one of their key players. We'll discuss that a little later in the programme. So much to discuss and debate this morning for you. We're joined by James Savundra, Flex, and Dan Bardell. We are going to get straight into it though, and hear first from the Brentford manager, Thomas Frank. He's talking live right now. We can hear from him.
Papers. Cameras ready?
Morning, Thomas.
Morning.
Thomas, 259 days since Ivan Toney last played a Premier League game. How would you describe his mood around the training ground this week?
He's buzzing. He's like under 8-year-old boy. Just want to go out and play maybe his first football game, or just that pure joy of playing football, and that's what he wants. He is. I'm looking into the eyes of a player that are very committed, very excited, and can't wait. And I think I can break it now. He will start tomorrow, and he will also lead the team out of the tunnel. He will be the captain because Christian is injured. So I'm pretty sure he is ready.
Well, that was my next question, so I will turn that into, is he ready for 90 minutes if called upon?
I think so.
Yeah.
Of course, you never know. There will be extra adrenaline in him. There'll be extra excitement. He will run around that he's never run around before, and he is always fighting and working hard for the team. But it's the first Premier League game. But he is very fit. He's played in-house games and played 90 minutes there. But of course, that's one thing. A Premier League game is another thing. But I'm pretty sure that the excitement and the adrenaline would do the rest.
You mentioned he will start and lead the team out. A lot's made of his goals and what his goals could mean to Brentford, but can you speak a little bit about his leadership qualities? And he said in an interview this week that if anybody's feeling sorry for themselves around the team, he's going to try and help drag them up. Is that the kind of thing you've sensed this week?
Not only this week. That's what I sensed the last, 2.5 year. No, sorry, 3.5 year. Isn't it 3.5 year? 3.5 year. With Ivan, he's a special character in many ways. He's a fantastic person to be around. I think I can speak for myself, staff, players, that the energy he brings, the smile, the positivity, every day at the training ground is a massive thing. And then on the pitch, he drags people. He wants to win. He want to help the team. So of course it's a massive boost. Said before, it's like a new signing. I think there is an argument. Of course, everyone needs to prove themselves again, but there's an argument that he's maybe the second best striker in the Premier League right now. Last year, I think he was the third after Kane and Holland. Now he's the second, in my opinion. Of course, he needs to prove it again. Same with a coach, with a team, with any player. But I see an unbelievable commitment that he want to go out there and help the team score goals and hopefully win.
In his interview this week, he spoke about helping Brentford by scoring those goals, but he also didn't rule out a January move. He said there's no right time to move. I just wondered what you made of that. Is that a scenario you still fear? Will you be glad just to see the window closed with him still here?
Yes, of course. But as I said earlier in these press conferences, that is 99 point something that he will stay here. Football is crazy, so you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. He's very committed to be here. He's very committed to help the team. Spoke with him yesterday about it. It's That's the only thing on his mind. We just have that 0.0 something number of craziness in football that you can't rule out. He want to stay here. He want to help the team. We want to keep him.
Have you had any offers as yet for him?
No.
None at all?
No. I can say no twice.
And yeah, just kind of, does he owe Brentford in any way, given how much the club have backed him and stuck with him, to see out the season?
I think in any partnership, we how can you say, not owe, but we are committed to each other. I'm the club, the team are committed to Ivan, and the other way around, he's committed to us. I haven't seen one training, one day, one game where he didn't want to give to the team and help. And I'm convinced he will do the same tomorrow and the following games, the rest of the season.
Just a final one for me. The fact he's coming into a game of this magnitude against Nottingham Forest, also down there, it's a home game under the lights at Brentford. Is that quite exciting? Almost like, is it the perfect game to come back to in that sense?
Yeah, it's perfect timing for Ivan. It's classic Ivan, okay? Perfect timing. It could have been away, 12:30 kickoff, whatever. But now it's home, under the floodlights, a little bit on the game, I would say, and he will just thrive in that environment. He's looking forward to it.
What a boost this is for Thomas Frank. Ivan Toney is available and is going to start this vital game for Brentford against Nottingham Forest. 5 o'clock start for you, Sky Sports Premier League and main event. It's the Saturday night football. So there we go, Thomas Frank talking live in West London this morning. He said he looked into the eyes of a player who is very committed. He will lead the team out and will start as captain. Thomas Frank describing Ivan Toney as a special person to be around this morning, calling him the second best striker in the league. He did say it's 99.9 something that he will stay here in this transfer window. He spoke with him yesterday about it and confirmed there had been no offers for Ivan Toney in this January transfer window. What do we make of that? Have we learned anything different today from what Thomas Frank has said there?
Well, we've learned something slightly different in the fact on Monday he said he was 99% certain he'd stay in January, and now it's 99 point something. So the chance of Ivan Toney staying when Thomas Frank have gone up. But he did admit that point something could happen. Football's crazy. He suggested you never know what is quite going to happen. But Thomas Frank has been quite consistent with what he said over the last year or so. You go out to May and he said that Brentford do need to be prepared for Ivan Toney to potentially leave, but suggested he was worth more than £100 million. Then he came in on Monday Night Football and agreed that Brentford, like most clubs in the Premier League, are selling clubs and he'll be sold if the right price is there. And then last month he said he doubted something would happen in January. So I think it all points towards a situation where Ivan Toney does stay in this window, and then it becomes a bigger debate in the summer window when there's more time, when Brentford have had a chance to reassess their options, when the likes of Arsenal or Chelsea, say, are in a better financial point of view from a PSR perspective. But I think Thomas Frank came out there in bullish form. It's a massive game for Brentford tomorrow. Let's not forget where Brentford are at the moment. But for Ivan Toney to come back into the side, to start the game as captain, what a boost that is for a club who have lost their last 5 Premier League games and now find themselves in a bit of a scrap. As
you say, a massive boost. Is he the difference between Brentford staying up and going down?
Crucial, absolutely. He epitomises, you know, what a top striker is, and Thomas Frank spoke about where he ranks him in this league, and with Harry Kane leaving the league, ranks him as second. So he's saying that Brentford have the second best striker in the league. That literally tells you how important he thinks he is, and would tell you that he could easily be the difference between them, you know, going down or staying up. I think one thing we did need to point out as well, he said he would thrive under this sort of pressure. He said he could have come back, you know, 12:30 kickoff. Sometimes they're not as all action, as pulsating as under the lights, you know, 5:30 kickoff or an evening kickoff. And Ivan will embrace that, and he's going to lead out the team as well. He says that he can pick people up. He can drag the mentality from the floor upwards. And these are all things that are difference makers. One on the pitch in terms of if a team is fighting against relegation, but even Ivan spoke about it in the piece that he did with Sky, the second piece, when he said there's a good feeling around the training ground, and anybody feeling sorry for themselves, I'm basically not having that. And that's the type of person that he is. He wants to be committed, he wants to be strong, he wants to score goals, he wants to have an impact, and he wants to lead this Brentford team and retain their Premier League status, and I'm pretty sure he'll do that.
He was asked by Paul Gilmore there from Sky about whether he owes Brentford anything given the time away from the game. I mean, Thomas Frank talked about it's actually a commitment, two sides that have to be committed to each other, and he said that. But given what he said to Patrick Davison this week in another Sky interview, he said you can never predict when the time is right to move elsewhere, but I think it's obvious I want to play for a top club. Have those comments ramped up a little bit of pressure on this comeback?
I don't think so. I think Brentford know full well what Ivan Toney's plans are. Ivan Toney will know what Brentford have planned for him. When it comes to the summer, he'll have a year left on his contract. I'm pretty certain that Ivan Toney will move and he'll get Brentford's best wishes. And as I said yesterday, I think he'll probably go down as one of Brentford's greatest ever players, such as the impact he's had since he's been there. I think Brentford are very at ease with this situation. I think they know what they are as a club. I think they've sold players in the past all through the Championship. They sold really well and built new teams. And if, the 100 million or whatever comes in for Ivan Toney, I would back Thomas Frank to be able to go again and do the same thing. How good is Thomas Frank to speak to? But by the way, what he says and the way he speaks, he's so honest, open, yeah. so honest. Not many managers would sit there then and just say, yeah, he's going to play. He's going to be the captain. He's raring to go. So many managers would kind of shirk that question, so I'm not sure. We'll have to see how he is in training today. But no, Thomas Frank just comes straight out and says that he's going to play. And again, I said this yesterday, Ivan Toney is box office, and I think him coming back that game tomorrow at tea time, that is going to be box office.
Yeah, box office, Ivan Toney. His last competitive match, by the way, was Liverpool on May the 6th. He has been allowed to train with his teammates since September, but after 8 months away, Ivan Toney is back and he will lead Brentford out against Nottingham Forest in the Saturday night football. It's certainly one to watch tomorrow. Some contract news to bring you from the WSL this morning. Arsenal have announced that Manuela Zinsberger has signed a new contract. She's made 113 appearances for Arsenal, so that news just reaching us this morning. Plenty still to come here on Good Morning Transfers. Two clubs express an interest in Chelsea's Armando Broja, but is the fee putting clubs off? Stay with us. Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. Breaking news reaching us, and we can tell you that West Ham are in discussions this morning over a move for Manchester City midfielder Calvin Phillips. Talks are centred on what the conditions of a potential deal might be. We've been reporting throughout this window here on Sky Sports News that West Ham had been one of 6 clubs interested in the player. They include Crystal Palace and Newcastle, who had also made contact with City about a deal this month. In terms of European interest, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona also understood to be interested. But what we're hearing this morning, West Ham are now in talks with Manchester City over a move for Calvin Phillips. He's been someone that we've been talking about throughout this transfer window. It seems like West Ham now front of the queue. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it'd be a brilliant signing. I think it'd be a good move for him as well, going to a great club in West Ham who are going really, really well in the league this season, recruited well with the Declan Rice money in the summer, and I think there's obviously some funds left over to get Calvin Phillips in on loan as well. I think he probably slots in next to Alvarez quite nicely in that midfield. He's having a good season. He's had a good first half of the season, and they've got James Ward-Prowse, who perhaps plays a little bit in front as well. Souček's actually having a really good season, but West Ham in multiple competitions, we know what that Thursday-Sunday load's like. To have an extra option there in that midfield, I think that would really help them. It feels a very David Moyes signing, doesn't it? The Phillips and Alcaraz midfield as a double pivot feels very David Moyes. And a few years ago, when Souček was at his top form and they had Rice and Phillips, I felt like they gave the attacker... Sorry, Rice and Souček, they gave the attackers a licence to go forward, knowing that they were protected, but they also gave the defence that consistency that they knew that they had that solid platform in front of them as well. This feels like West Ham going back to that, and yeah, I think it would be a good signing all round, good move all round for everyone.
For Calvin Phillips, I mean, there's lots of clubs interested in him. Do you think he would like to go to somewhere where he's going to be playing minutes, or where he might be in with a shout of winning more trophies on a similar level to Manchester City? And when you look at the list of clubs that are interested in, maybe, you know, Juventus and Atletico Madrid might fit into that category.
I think if you look at Calvin Phillips since he's gone from Leeds to Manchester City and what he's won: Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League, Club World Cup, Super Cup. He's also got the Championship at Leeds, so he's decorated, but he won't feel like he's part of it. Obviously, with the Leeds promotion for sure, but in terms of what he's won at Manchester City, he won't feel part of it. And for a player to have those type of honours and feel like a bit part, that's going to be a sore feeling. So absolutely, he has to go to where he's going to play. He's almost done it the other way around. You know, if you're a player and you retire and you want to sort of put those medals down on your table and say, what did you achieve in your career? But the story that for Calvin Phillips isn't quite the one that matches up with someone who's been an integral part of winning such prestigious honours. He has to go where he's going to play. I mean, I was saying yesterday about maybe the Crystal Palace situation where, you know, Roy Hodgson put their name into the hat of somewhere where he could get minutes. And that's exactly what he can get at West Ham. I think the best version of Calvin Phillips offers more than Souček. I think Souček does have his attributes. You know, he's good in the air and can get goals from midfield. But essentially, if it was Alvarez and Calvin Phillips week in, week out, with Ward-Prowse just ahead of that, and Paquetá on the left and Kudus on the right and Bowen up front, mouth-watering for West Ham fans. So I think he really needs to go where he's going to play. And if this move is to materialise into a loan deal or a permanent, whatever it's going to look like, I think it definitely would be a good move for him.
Do we underestimate sometimes? I mean, it's easier. Calvin Phillips is at an elite football club, so do we underestimate sometimes how hard it is for players to leave those environments, even when they're not necessarily playing lots of minutes? It's an easier sell, for instance, for a younger player to say, step away from the elite environment for the moment because you can get back there. But when it's a player at the stage of the career at Calvin Phillips who's tasted Manchester City, do we underestimate sometimes how hard it is for players to move away from that atmosphere and move to another club?
I think so, especially when you consider what a pull it must have been to move to Man City in the first place, and it would have taken a big move like that to move him away from Leeds. I mean, you can only see the Leeds documentary. He speaks about how much the club means to him, how much the club means to his family, to then move away to Man City. And yeah, Flex mentioned the CV he's now got, which is incredible, but he'll feel he's not contributed towards it. Euros obviously on his mind as well. Gareth Southgate has been very loyal to him, despite the fact he's had limited minutes this season. But this will also feel, if he does move on loan in this window, because of Pep Guardiola's comments in December and Pep Guardiola almost apologised for him because it suggested that he wasn't the right fit in the first place. The way that Guardiola spoke about things, he sort of said, it's not you, it's me, in terms of why he can't see in his head Calvin Phillips being a big part of that squad. So this feels like the beginning of the end for Calvin Phillips, if he is to move on, because this is incredible. To come in for the fee he did in that summer, he's made 4 Premier League appearances this season, 2 Premier League starts in his whole time at Man City, and both of those came in May after Man City had already won the title. He's not played in the last 9 matches in the Premier League, and I think Manchester City are in a position now, they do tend to recruit brilliantly, they also sell really well. I think at the moment they're looking at trying to get some money back for Calvin Phillips in the short term, because they know no club is in a situation where they can fork out the money that Man City would want for him, a current England international, still a top player, and it is those wages as well. And I think Crystal Palace and Newcastle, I think, would make more sense because of the issues they've got at the moment in their midfield. But perhaps West Ham are the only club that can stump up a huge amount of that wage, which is £135,000 a week. And Man City, ideally, want all those wages to be paid by the club he moves to on loan, with that loan fee as well. West Ham currently 6th in the table, went out to Bristol City in the FA Cup. A number of issues in forward areas. They probably would rather sign a striker or a winger at the moment. But when an option like Calvin Phillips comes up right now, I think it shows how much ambition West Ham for this to be a successful season in the Europa League and in the Premier League, because it felt like with the injuries they're suffering at the moment that perhaps they may look to slide down the table with the issues they have. But by signing a player like Calvin Phillips, what a statement of intent that is at this point in this month.
Yeah, certainly would be if you are just joining us. West Ham now in discussions over a move for Manchester City midfielder Calvin Phillips. Talks at the moment trying to centre on the conditions of a potential deal. West Ham, one of 6 clubs interested in the player. Plenty of breaking news here this morning with us as well. If you are just joining us, Thomas Frank has told Good Morning Transfers Live that Ivan Toney will captain Brentford and start tomorrow against Nottingham Forest. So plenty of breaking news this morning. Next, Chelsea are willing to sell striker Armando Broja before the deadline. Fulham and Wolves are understood to be exploring the conditions of a potential deal. He's one of a number of forwards that both clubs are looking at. There are doubts over whether any of the interested clubs can raise an acceptable offer to Chelsea in this window. The West London club, we understand, want £50 million for Broja. Just first of all, James, just tell us what the strikers' situations are at Wolves and Fulham.
Yeah, let's look at Fulham firstly. They weren't able to find a replacement for Alexander Mitrovic in the summer, so Raul Jimenez has been the main man for them this season. It didn't work out at the start of the campaign, but 5 goals in his last 7 games has softened the blow somewhat of Mitrovic's departure. And despite the fact they did get that record fee for Mitrovic in the summer, Fulham ideally still looking to generate funds from sales before they look to bring anybody in. I spoke to Marco Silva at the start of the month, and they are really restricted financially in terms of bringing players in. And there's been a frustration from him in previous windows, Fulham leaving their business so late. But I think there's now an understanding because of PSR constraints that they can't be as busy as they like to be. Now, they've got interest in 2 of their backup strikers, Carlos Vinicius and Rodrigo Muniz. And we reported that earlier this month on Sky Sports News. So if they could offload 1 or 2 of those players, maybe that could help fund a move for a player like Broja. And from a Wolves perspective, they've sent out 2 of their strikers on loan already in this window. Fabio Silva's gone out on another loan spell to Rangers, and Sasha Kalajdzic, he's moved out earlier this month as well. And Gary O'Neill was speaking yesterday, said, we will get someone in. I think they definitely need a number 9 because they've been really impressive this season. Let's bear in mind the situation Gary O'Neill came into a few days before the start of the season with Julian Lopetegui leaving. But Cunha and Hwang have been so impressive this season. They're not natural strikers. They're playing out of position. So they are looking for that number 9. And Danny Ings, Hugo Ekitike and Shea Adams are other players of interest to Wolves. I think there is a doubt, as you said before, about whether these clubs can raise enough cash and bring together an acceptable offer for Chelsea, because we understand Chelsea want around £50 million. So for a player who's scored 2 goals this season, who is still recovering from that long-term injury he suffered a year or so ago, it'd be a lot of money to stump up in this window for somebody who is yet to find his form since what was a really terrible injury.
Yeah, Broja would represent a homegrown player sale down. Why is that so important for football clubs?
Yeah, I've been looking into it this morning. I'll just head over to the big screen. So it's a trend now more and more that we're seeing clubs have to cash in on academy products because purely They provide pure profit, which is a really interesting way of selling players now. So clubs are trying to find a way around this PSR ruling, and this seems to be the main way that they've been doing it. So over the last 3 years, Aston Villa, my team, they've sold 5 academy graduates for an awful lot of money. The Jack Grealish 100 million pure profit was really critical to Villa in the way they've managed to move forward and build. Without that, I think it would have proved to be a tricky summer last year and the summer before. But Villa have sold Grealish for 100 million and managed to bring in players who've improved the team overall. And now just look at where Villa are sitting in the Premier League. 2024 summer window was looking like it might be a bit of a difficult one for Villa, but they've managed to offset that by selling players maybe that they didn't want to lose in Cameron Archer, Philogene and Aaron Ramsey. The club felt like they had no choice but to sell them to enable them to be able to build a team in Unai Emery's mould. So Villa have latched onto this trend pretty well over the last 12 to 18 months. Of course, Carney Chukwuemeka left for Chelsea, who we're going to talk about now as well. Now, Chelsea really are the trendsetters with this. They've done this time after time, year upon year, sold academy products for big money. And people ask how the Todd Bowley regime have been able to spend so much money. Well, the answer's here with all the players that they've let leave the building in the last 3 years. Mason Mount, the most recent one, for 60 million, going to Manchester United. Again, probably a player that Chelsea fans were really disappointed to lose, but the club felt like they had to do it because of the sustainability rules. Tammy Abraham, Tamori, Loftus-Cheek all went off to Italy. Shows how Chelsea have used the loan market well as well. Gay never played a first-team game for Chelsea, went on loan to the Championship with Swansea, did very well and then was sold to Crystal Palace for 18 million. They've had other successes as well. Livramento, of course, has since left Southampton. He joined Southampton from Chelsea. He's since left for a bigger fee. But all this helps and has enabled Chelsea to spend the money that they've spent over the last few windows. Manchester City, probably the second best at doing it. Cole Palmer left. Pep Guardiola kind of said that, if a player wants to leave, they can leave. But there's no doubt that 42.5 million has helped Manchester City with balancing the books. They've sold 2 goalkeepers over the last 12 to 18 months. Neither of them played a first-team game for Manchester City, and they've made nearly £40 million off selling them both to Premier League teams at the time, Trafford going to Burnley and Bazzuno to Southampton. And selling players to Southampton, Man City have made nearly 40 million alone off Southampton. So Manchester City, Chelsea, Villa, they've all used, it's not a loophole, but they've all used this market really well in getting rid of academy players that provide that pure profit and provide the extra wiggle room in the transfer market to get players that perhaps more fit what the manager wants. And I think it's a trend that's going to continue even further, Dave. And, with Arsenal, Chelsea looking at it again with Gallagher, perhaps. I think Arsenal in the summer with Smith Rowe, perhaps he might be one that leaves. Nketiah. It's a method now that more and more Premier League teams are having to use because of the rules. And it's not really a rule that I like because I think it encourages teams to sell academy players. And at the end of the day, as football fans, a lot of us like seeing academy players break through. But with the way the rules are at the moment, it doesn't feel like there's any choice for Premier League teams.
If you are just joining us, breaking transfer news this morning. West Ham in discussions over a loan move for Manchester City midfielder Calvin Phillips. Still to come, we'll bring you reaction to Jordan Henderson's move to Ajax. We're going to be live in Amsterdam next. Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. Jordan Henderson is an Ajax player. He has signed a 2.5-year deal just 6 months after signing for Al Ettifaq in Saudi Arabia. We can go live to Amsterdam now, speak to our reporter Gary Cottrell. Good morning to you, Gary. It's all signed and sealed. What's Henderson had to say about the move?
8 o'clock yesterday evening after 2 busy days of negotiations and medicals, etc. First of all, we heard from the Saudi Arabian side of things that he'd been released from his contract. We knew that was coming. And then almost straight away we heard from the Netherlands side of things that he'd signed that 2.5-year deal. We knew that was coming as well, but that was the confirmation. And then the player himself took to social media, into the club channels, first of all to say to Saudi Arabian football supporters that to leave was the best decision for him and his family, that he'll continue to support football there from a distance and wishes them all the best for the future. And then his message to Ajax fans was pretty much, look, it's been a really difficult year for both of us, particularly a difficult 6 months for him and for the club, and now we can help each other out. He said he's excited by the prospect of playing for Ajax, and when he knew that it was possible, he wanted to do everything he could to get the deal done. And the newspapers have obviously covered the story this morning. I'll show you a couple. You can see the headline of a smiling Jordan Henderson on that one. The little strap along the top is a quote from his new head coach, which says that he's a significant boost in quality for selection. But the main headline just translates to Henderson ensures a big smile. So that's all quite positive. The other newspaper, I have to say, slightly less positive. It's just a little thing, a little strap along the top here. That's just leading you inside to read the full coverage. But that translates, as you can probably make out some of it, great name, but is Henderson still good? And then the term over the hill is used. So not 100% sold the journalists here, not 100% sold potentially perhaps the fans, but of course if he slips on that shirt and starts playing well and starts helping Ajax improve on their season, which started so badly but has got better over the past 9 games or so, then very quickly all those doubters of course will melt away.
Yeah, I'm sure, Gary. So when might we expect him to be able to pull on that shirt? When are we going to see him next? Well, of course, famously wore number 14 at Liverpool, didn't he? He won't be wearing number 14 here because that shirt belongs to one and only still here at Ajax, and that's Johan Cruyff, of course, a stadium named after him as well. So we don't know what number he'll be wearing. He won't be playing this weekend because we understand that his accreditation, his licence to play in Europe won't be through in time. They're away next weekend, so his home debut will be in front of about 54,000 fans here against PSV Eindhoven, and I'm sure he'll get a massive welcome because they're big rivals and they're also bossing the league at the moment. I think they're 23 points ahead of Ajax in the league at the moment. There is a news conference at 1 o'clock your time this afternoon at this stadium. It's billed as the head coach looking ahead to the weekend game and a player. They're playing the cards very close to their chest, are Ajax, but I've spoken to a few local journalists already this morning and they're saying they're 99% certain that that player will be Jordan Henderson. Let's wait and see. We will indeed. Gary, thank you for the moment. Well, let's get the fans' perspective now from an Ajax supporter and YouTuber. Ajax joins us live now on Good Morning Transfers. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on this morning. How excited are you and the rest of the fan base about the signing of the former Liverpool midfielder?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're very exciting. A player of his stature, coming to a club like Ajax is a very big thing for us. So we've known last season that he's in a bit of decline for the Premier League standards. But the difference between the Premier League and the Eredivisie is, of course, huge. In my opinion, the Premier League is the biggest competition in the world. And I'm comfortable of saying that for the Eredivisie standards, he will be huge for us. Not only quality-wise, he will be a big player in the league, but first and foremost, his leadership qualities and his ability to keep the balance on the midfield. That's something we're lacking at the moment. So very exciting with the signing. The fans are very exciting that we are able to, have this deal coming into Ajax. And we're looking forward to seeing him wear the kit.
You said the fans are excited for him to join. Ajax have broken the bank to bring Jordan Henderson to Ajax. Are the fans comfortable with that?
Yeah, you know, for a lot of clubs, it's difficult to sign a player that you know will have zero or almost no rest value. But we spent like 110 million this season on 12 different players that are at the moment below par players for Ajax. So that 110 million euros is a lot. But yeah, it's not known how much we spent on Henderson yet, but we will know that he is one of the probably the top earner in the squad now. So if he just delivers what we think he can deliver, it's money well spent, because we hope that he will be one of the generals of the team and that he can, you know, gel the team together and give us a boost. So this is something that we lack very much after Dusan Tadic and other big players left the club that are, you know, known for the Ajax identity. Hopefully he can bring what he has brought for 8 seasons at Liverpool. Then it's money very well spent, in my opinion.
Morning. There's no getting away that it's been a difficult season for Ajax so far. What are the club's ambitions now for the rest of the season, and do you think Henderson will help them fulfil those ambitions?
Yeah, it's been a tough season for us for sure. We're in the 18th place. That's something that never happened before. Now we're back to the 5th place under the current coach. So we're you know, going up, climbing the ladder. And we're only 9 points away from the 3rd place that will grant us like qualification spot for the Champions League. And 7 points away from the 4th place. So there's still a gap that we can maybe, you know, pass. And hopefully he will bring us the injection of quality and first and foremost, you know, instill a certain, composure within the team, certain intelligence of the football, and also a certain attitude that he can bring to the players that are young and still need to learn a lot. And he is like a veteran and can bring that to the team. So if that works out and he gives us the balance in the midfield that's needed, I'm sure that we will start climbing more and more. And hopefully, I think the 3rd place is still in reach, but 1st place is not able anymore because we're 23 points behind. But that would be a big victory for us this season, coming from that 18th place a few weeks ago.
Ajax, good to see you again. I spent some time with you at the Johan Cruyff Arena when Erik ten Hag was sort of on his way out of Ajax and you won the league that day. It's an amazing atmosphere. Obviously, it's been a big transition from then to now. Feels like a long time for yourself and for me. But it feels like a long time ago. But what sort of atmosphere can Jordan Henderson expect at the Johan Cruyff Arena? Because I saw it absolutely electric and bouncing, flares going off everywhere. Obviously, that was a title parade. What is it like now?
Yeah, it's different, of course, Flex. When you went over to Amsterdam and I met you here, it was a Champions Cup game, you know. We could win the league that game against Heerenveen. So we were ecstatic, and the atmosphere was great. The atmosphere is always great in the Johan Cruyff Arena. There's almost 56,000 people that can go there, and we're football lovers, you know. So if we see a player of that stature coming to our team, we'll definitely give him a warm welcome. And if he just delivers what we think he can deliver, he will be a fan favorite very soon. And something that we are known for is that we cheer on our players and that we give a good, atmosphere within the stadium. So he can expect a lot. And if he just delivers what we think he can, he will be a fan favorite soon, and we will just love him. That will be certain.
Well, you spoke about him being a fan favorite. I don't want you to lie. Have you gone and got your Jordan Henderson shirt then?
Not yet, Flex, not yet. It's only been confirmed like yesterday evening officially, and I've not been able to buy it yet, but it can be an option for me to buy the shirt very soon, depending also how he performs, of course. You do not want to buy a shirt and then it maybe isn't a good signing, you know. But I think the boost of the shirt sales will definitely go up the coming weeks, because this will be a big signing for us. And one of the few Englishmen players, that come to Ajax. We didn't have a lot of English players yet. Chuba Akpom just came recently. He's one of them. And the last one before that is before 1980, I believe. So it's a big thing for us.
So Jordan's got to perform so he can get the shirt, Ajax. Thanks for coming on this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a great show.
Plenty to come on Good Morning Transfers. We'll react to a major injury worry for Liverpool, and we'll hear from the Nottingham Forest boss, Nuno Espirito Santo. Stay with us. Welcome back. 13 days to go in the window, and it's already been a busy morning here on Good Morning Transfers. Ivan Toney will start and captain Brentford tomorrow. Thomas Frank told us that just after 9 o'clock this morning, live on Good Morning Transfers. Also today, we have learned that West Ham are trying to sign Calvin Phillips on loan from Manchester City. Meantime, Nottingham Forest head coach Nuno Espirito Santo has been holding his news conference in the last few minutes. He's been speaking about the transfer window, including the future of striker Divock Origi, who is currently out with an injury. Let's hear from him.
There's reports in Italy that Divock Origi, I know you said he has a knock, but he's attracting interest in the MLS. Is he still part of your plan? Do you expect him to be here past deadline day?
Fortunately now he's injured, so we cannot count on him. But all the players in the squad, you have to be aware when is the winter window of transfers. You have to be ready for everything. You cannot put aside one situation because something different can happen. So you have to be aware of everything. So in these moments, all the players that are in the building are important for us.
Just a couple of follow-ups from myself. So you're saying a couple of questions have been made about the January transfer window. Given your experience and the current state of the market, with a lot of clubs seemingly struggling to being able to do deals, how difficult is it for you to get the business done that you want in this window?
It's very difficult. This window is, you have to realize that it's a difficult window to operate, because normally the targets that you really want are not available. And it happens in all the clubs. The players that get available are the players that not being in a happy moment where they are. It happens to us also. The speculation of players in our scout going out is because they are not happy here or something, circumstances happen. So you have to be really careful, because what you want sometimes is not what you get.
Nuno Espirito Santo talking this morning. Been a difficult week for Nottingham Forest, hasn't it? And they go to Brentford in the Saturday night football. There was a scare for Liverpool supporters last night. Mohamed Salah was substituted in Egypt's Africa Cup of Nations game against Ghana with what looked like a hamstring injury. James, just to explain what happened.
Yeah, real concern for Egypt and for Liverpool fans as well. He went down and received treatment from the Egyptian medical team, but then he did have to be replaced in added time of the first half. He indicated to the medical team that he could not continue, holding the back of his left thigh. Now, Egypt's coach was speaking after the match, and he said the extent of the injury is unclear at this point. Of course, we are worried. We hope it's not too serious. We don't know yet what the problem is. I hope it's not a big problem, and that'll be a concern for Egypt as they look to do something special at the African Cup of Nations, and then moving ahead to next month when he does make his return. Concern for Liverpool fans as well. He's been unbelievable this season. 27 goal contributions in 27 matches. So Liverpool will hope it's nothing too serious, and Egypt will hope that he'll be fit to play in their next match because they need him. It's not been a convincing start to the AFCON for Egypt.
Liverpool fans will be having nightmares.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the 27 goal contribution. He's been on fire this season. When is Mo Salah not on fire? I mean, even when it's perceived that he's maybe not having his best season, and then you check his numbers and you go, yeah, he is actually. It's just how good he is. He's absolutely top footballer. And actually, Liverpool have this sort of unique ability with the firepower that they've got to actually deal with some absentees when they come about and still find a way to keep competing. And Jurgen Klopp makes sure he finds a way. He's a fantastic coach and still has Liverpool sort of firing, even if there's some of their key players. You know, when Jota's been out injured, they've managed to keep scoring goals. Now he's back. That's a welcome for him. If Nunez has been struggling to, hit the back of the net, other players have taken that mantelpiece, whether it's been Harvey Elliott chipping in with goals, Endo, sometimes McAllister. So they do have goals all across their front line and in midfield as well, but replacing Mo Salah is just, that can't happen right now. So a huge worry for Liverpool fans.
Yeah, worry for Liverpool fans, worry for Egypt. If there are any updates, we'll bring them to you here on Good Morning Transfers or Total Football, which is coming up shortly. Anthony Martial's agent has denied reports that Manchester United striker has been told to train alone because he's not fit. This is his representative, Phillips Lamboli, who has told Sky Sports News that Martial has a hip issue that requires surgery. And he's also confirmed that Martial does not want to leave Old Trafford in the January transfer window and will stay until his contract ends in June. Another day, another story around Anthony Martial. Why is there so much noise around him at the moment?
Yeah, well, it started from a piece in the Daily Mail from Matt Hughes, who claimed that Martial was, in fact, sort of exiled or training alone as a result of not recovering from a bug he was out for 5 weeks for, and consequently was training by himself, which we've just seen there from Philippe Lomboli that isn't the case, and he actually has to get some issues sorted and in terms of an adductor and getting an operation. Manchester United have been really clear on this, is that he hasn't been exiled. He hasn't been ordered to train alone more than any other player who's coming back to face a return to fitness. Most notably, Lisandro Martinez has been on an individualised programme. So is Mason Mount, still currently, Casemiro. It's common practice, and under Erik Ten Hag, this is exactly what happens. And not just Erik Ten Hag, many other teams, I can imagine, when you're on your way back to fitness, you're on the grass by yourself first before you can join in team training. And Manchester United see this as just a routine segue back to the first team training, so we can be selected for matchday squads and not be an exile. So, yeah, complete pushback from Manchester United in terms of the story that's been put out there that Martial has an issue with Erik Ten Hag. It's purely sequential, and this is his routine back. But it has obviously raised a lot of eyebrows because of Martial's unavailability, and he has been obviously had a horrible season last year.
Injuries have just been really blighted his time at United, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We think about when he first come in, and me and James were talking about this, about the excitement, that first goal against Liverpool, that infamous Martin Tyler moment when he announced himself to Manchester United faithful at Old Trafford, and some other moments, semi-final against Everton. You wanted him to kick on, but in recent seasons, injuries have really hurt him, and he's struggled to keep fit and have a consistent run under Erik Ten Hag. And he's been integral to Erik Ten Hag when he has played. Erik Ten Hag's really spoke about how well he does play, so we need him fit.
12 goals in his last 4 Premier League seasons. It's incredible when you think how exciting it was when he first joined. A lot of people did say it was a waste of money. They didn't know anything about this guy. But how much do you think Martial has to take the blame for what has happened since he joined the club 8 years ago?
Partly both. The player and the club in bad decisions and him not fulfilling his potential.
Yeah, it's been difficult for him. Good Morning Transfers is back on Monday morning. Join us from 9 a.m. We've got plenty more to come today from the team as well. We're back. Transfer Talk is here at midday. James, Flex and Dan. And for a full roundup of the day's news, catch the Transfer Show tonight, 5 and 7. Total Football is on the way next. Stand by to hear from the Liverpool manager, Jurgen Klopp.